Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Literary Hour. I'm your co-host, Jackie Sae, and with me is my professor and co-host, Dr. K. Moses Nambi. Hi, Prof.
Hi, Jackie. Nice being around again.
How's everything?
Okay, we're here.
Okay. So I think there are a lot of people here to listen to the Maserado discussion,
Yeah,
and we put it to 1 o'clock tomorrow because there are people in Liberia who would like to join the conversation as well. So today we will stick to our original topic, which is exploring the hinterland of Liberia with Benjamin J.K.
Anderson. Yeah,
Anderson,
Anderson.
Joseph
John.
Knight Anderson.
Yes,
And
that's
you,
right.
you, you know,
I don't.
Prof.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know why I always think about John. Yes, Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph.
Joseph
And
Knight
you know,
Anderson.
Prof. One of the things that is that even when we were discussing the literary phases of Liberian literature, and we were, and even in school, we heard this, Benjamin J.K. Anderson trip
Anderson.
to
Yeah.
Masadu. I mean,
Mhm.
but it's just like another book, another
Mhm.
title, and we've never really delved into who he is, his motivation, the impact of his travels, and the significance of what going to Masadu meant for Liberia. We haven't explored that. So today, I think we're just going to discuss our old friend Benjamin J.K. Harrison
Okay.
and his life and things like that. So we'll probably start with who he was, his life, and then we'll go on into his other exploits. So
Talking about that, especially when you said, in grade school, people, that's probably that is the reality of education at the elementary level. What students are given is much more of the basics, and over time, people get interested as they grow up. They get interested in certain themes, and then they run with such themes. And that is why, again, a program like this is important because it keeps the major themes on the front burner. So as people leave grade school, let's just say, as people leave grade school and get into college and perhaps beyond that, then of course they are beginning to understand key things about life, and then in that process talk about certain forces and voices that have been able to impact the themes, and that have been able to impact the life of a country and what have you. So that is what we are doing, which is to say that it is not a bad thing that they did, because the youthful mind is not strong enough to take a lot of things. It's tender, and therefore it's got to be like piecemeal type of thing that factor into our learning, the process of learning.
but what we learned about him is that he was, I think, 16 years old when he came to Liberia,
Yeah.
and that I think his mother was a seamstress
Mm-hmm.
and his father was a laborer. But this guy, he was a very intelligent guy. So when he went to school, and he got a lot of racism thrown at him, but
Yeah.
this guy knew how to fight.
Yeah.
He used to fight all the time.
Until the mother had to drag him from
Yeah.
from that place and bring him here before you
Yeah, so
die.
his mother feared for his safety,
Uh-huh.
and his mother. But the interesting thing is that his father stayed behind.
Mhm.
While he and his mother came to Liberia, his father stayed behind. Yeah, so that's
It's
that's an
that's a what.
no, I said that's an interesting thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Well,
he.
the thing about it is that, yes, fathers feel the pain of their children, the development of their children, but women feel the initial pain.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
therefore, before they lynch this boy, before they kill him in unsettling ways, let me take my baby boy.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
guess that was at the heart of it. Let me take my baby boy. Once I know, at least I've heard that there are prospects out there in a place called West Africa, in a place called Liberia. Let me take my baby boy there. Because I'm sure if he dies, I know you are going to cry, but I am going to cry more. So let me go with the boy, and probably the question is, but why didn't he follow? Well, maybe prospects in, even though he was a laborer, maybe prospects in America, uh, nonetheless were good. And therefore, maybe it was like, you go, and after a while, if I get some money, probably I'll be sending you something.
yeah.
All
It's
those,
true.
there are so many configurations that you can bring to the table regarding why he left behind, and the mother came with the boy.
The interesting thing is that, I mean, for somebody who, well, he was grown when he came,
Yes,
but
16.
he accomplished a lot. You know,
Mm.
when he came, he went to CWA,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
I think it was
seminary.
yeah,
It was a seminary then.
he went
Yeah.
to CWA, and but he did so much with his life. He was
Hmm.
secretary of treasury. That's the minister of finance, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, three times.
Hmm.
You know, he was minister or secretary of the interior.
Yeah.
This guy was a member of the True Week Party. He was
Hmm.
in a choir in Methodist Church.
Yeah.
He was a math teacher. Later on in life, he became a lawyer.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, and he taught not just math. He taught like geometry,
Yeah.
trigonometry.
Yeah.
You know,
All branches of math. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and a cartographer. You know, a surveyor. So
Hmm.
I mean, he accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that he got married three times.
So what are you talking about? Well, I know we can talk about, this thing about marriage and all that, but there are some people who say, well, if I know you get in, you are not supposed to get out, but if the thing is not serving you right, why not move on?
No, 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 Prof. I'm just talking about his life. I think one of his wives died,
Hmm.
I think, and then the second woman he's married, she was a widow. No,
Yeah,
we're trying
yes.
to situate the man. We want to know
Okay,
the
all
man
right.
first,
Okay.
you know. So it's not that I'm
It's
I'm
not
I'm
deprecating
casting
him, but denigrating. All
aspersions
right.
on
Okay,
him. No,
very
no,
good.
I'm
Okay.
just
I'm
I'm
glad
just
you
saying
you
that he
cleared
was,
that part
yeah,
out.
yeah. And one thing that is kind of vague, but maybe you can throw light on it. They said that when they impeached James Briggs Spain,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When they impeached him in Liberia,
Yeah.
I think 1 year later, 1 month, they impeached uh Benjamin J.K. Anderson too.
Yeah.
For what? What did he do?
It had to do with money business now.
So he stole some money?
I didn't say,
No,
you
no,
know.
no. I just wanted to know, when I read it, I was like, they didn't say anything, and
Mhm.
then the charges were dropped. But then I said, but wait, what did he do?
Yeah, but again, sometimes that is part of human tendency. The whole idea. You were talking about the active life he lived and what have you, and whatever service he was to the country. Sometimes uh, unintentionally it gets to one's head, and one begins to do certain things that he or she ought not to do, and in that process, I think that might have been a part of his. He was of more service here and there, and it's like, I'm someone you can't do anything to. I'm indispensable, and once it gets to the point of indispensability, then maybe you are towing your own line. When someone wants to ring you in, then it becomes a problem for you. I suspect that might have been a part of his life in the process.
So yeah, 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 he is. You know, he has. I mean, he was in the army. He even went to lieutenant in the
Yeah,
army.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
He
so
got
this guy
wounded
was
in the
no.
process and all that
In
too.
fact, they said he took part in a war that annexed Maryland.
Yes,
Yeah, so this man was not.
and
He's been around.
he got in the war with the Confederacy, the
Yeah,
rebel Confederacy, and what have you.
yeah, yeah. So there we have Benjamin J.K. Anderson, life in a nutshell. That's
Hmm.
his life. Um, and then we come to what he's known for as one of the greatest explorers, Liberian
Yeah.
explorers in the
Hmm.
19th century,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So we
1800s.
have
Mhm.
he was Shuffling, Shuffling, right?
Henry Shefflin.
Henry Shuffling, who was part of the American Colonization Society,
Yes, yes,
decided that, it's time for us to start mapping this interior,
yeah.
So, and then under the auspices of the Smithsonian,
Yes, yeah, that's right.
yeah,
That's something to, that's something too that the Smithsonian Institute got involved in the support system for his trip out there and some of his work.
I didn't even know that the Smithsonian existed all the
Yes,
way.
the Smithsonian been around for a while.
Yeah, yeah. So he's going now to survey
Yeah.
Masadu, right? And people will say, but why he got to go all that way? But Masadu was a very significant and important site in those
Yeah.
days. There were trade routes,
Yes.
right? They
To
wanted to
to
push it
other
all the way
places,
to
Niger and
the
all those
Niger
places there.
River.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Masadu was very important to Liberia and to that whole region, right?
And of
So
course, you keep in mind that also there were people flowing from there and talking about the precious items, gold, and all those things that
yes,
were there.
yes,
So they wanted to be. Yeah, it's a human thing now. They wanted to be part of the action, part of the pie that was, floating around there. So,
yeah.
and you remember that in the early days, Liberia still was struggling economically, and so whatever source from which economic benefits will flow, he was willing to tap into it. How about going over there and seeing what is out there? Let's go out there and see what is out there. If something good comes out, it is to our benefit and what have you. And then, of course, in addition, well, that would be an expansion of our interior part. So if it is done well, who gets hurt? If it is done well, benefits will flow from there.
And one of the important things, Prof, is that is, I mean, I laughed when when he in his book he talked about how the fact that I think going to Masadu would take like 25 days.
Mhm.
It took him 13 months.
Yes, I don't know. You see, I think it's got to do with part of again hopefulness, and the other aspect is ignorance. Because you haven't gone that far. Probably in America, people traveled here and there using the various vehicles that were around. People just kind of uh, calculate some loosely about distances and what have you. Of course, one would say, but this guy was a surveyor, this guy was a civil engineer, and why wouldn't he have made intelligent guesses to make sure that it won't take just 25 days?
Yeah, but one thing to consider is that I mean, I know we were saying that. I mean, his book is so important. His first book,
Yeah.
I mean, to describe the topography, to describe
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the places he went.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the rivers. The forest. I
The
mean, this
mountains
is
and all those,
yeah,
yes.
this is like a resource. Is like reading it. You can almost. I mean, and he used very descriptive words.
Yeah, yeah.
So reading his first book is almost like you can see Bapolu. You
Mm-hmm.
can see the other places. Well, he
Yeah.
didn't get to Bapolu. I think he went to they told him not to go there. They told him not to go there.
talking
Yeah,
about talking about descriptive language, I think that is some difference between uh, writings of old and writings of now. Here, we have electronic gadgets, we have media with all these machines that bring the photographs to us here and there. Therefore, it becomes almost redundant for you to get into deep description here and there. Whatever your mind cannot capture, eyes can capture that. So with them, I'm talking about with Anderson and Co. It was only the descriptive word. It was only the descriptive word that the audiences had to respond to. and therefore you didn't serve yourself very well or serve the audience very well if you were not very, very picturesque in your description or what have you.
Yeah, and he was, I mean, even the coordinates when he's describing, and he's listing the coordinates, he's listing the various degrees and
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, oh, he's very meticulous,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So shuffling and the Smithsonian sent him for the first one,
Yeah.
and of course he goes there, and like we said, you and I were discussing that the book is so important that we're thinking of doing this as a two-part series so that
Mm.
next week we go in depth
Yeah.
in the book. But one of the things I found very interesting was that when he started off, of course nobody wanted to go with him.
Hmm.
The people were like going to the interior. Hey, we're
Yeah,
not going.
it was, as you know, it was more of a scare tactics type of thing. All kinds of unimaginable things that will happen to him if he did go and all that. That reminds me, as we said the last time, that reminds me also about when the International Commission of Inquiry came, uh, Colbert Christie and Charles Johnson,
Yeah,
when they decided, especially Johnson, when he decided to go down the coast east of the country, it was like, of course, theirs was a different. The scare tactics was a different thing. They wanted to, the Moravia group wanted to scare the people
to
so that they
scare them
won't
from
go
going.
down the coast to
Yeah.
really find things out themselves. But on the other hand, it was like it was mere fear. What have you? If you go out there, something is going to happen to you. Therefore, don't go. Type of thing. It was.
But with this one, he could barely find anybody to go with him.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think some of the people they ran away. As I
Yeah.
said, we're not going to go so much into the book. We're going to talk
Yeah.
about the controversy, but
Yeah.
they ran away.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to get some of he called them the Congo boys,
Yes.
and they themselves, the people put the fear of God in them. They
Yes.
themselves were afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So of course it took 13 months because if he had to find people
Yeah.
to go with him, it's going to take a long time.
Sometimes it got to a point where he was so frustrated. It was like, does this worth it? Should I
Yeah.
continue or should I go back? So that also establishes his tenacity of will. He was someone who was determined, and therefore, nothing significant could so easily pull him back.
And then so when he went the first time, the Smithsonian published the book,
Mm-hmm.
in grand style. He
Yeah.
published the book. And it's important to know that his first book was published, but then few years later he went back,
Yes.
and those writings, that book was not published until 33 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And that's an important fact. What was published in the Monrovia newspaper
Yeah.
was just bits and pieces
Mm-hmm.
of his travel. 33 years
Mm-hmm.
before the second book was published, and that is an important fact to keep in mind when we're discussing Holland.
Yeah.
But it was 33 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the significance of Benjamin J.K. Anderson is that he was the explorer that went into the hinterland, the
Yeah.
first explorer, right, in
It
the
was like
19th
going to the
century. It's
moon
like going to the moon.
for
Yeah.
for the first time.
I doubt whether, I mean, we made fun about his having to been married 3 times, but I doubt whether when he was going, he told his wife, honey, I will be back. She like, oh, no,
Yes.
you won't.
Yeah. I know. Some
Are you sure you're
some
going to be back?
some people are going to eat you because actually, I'm sure they talk about cannibalism and all that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
They will grab you
Yeah.
and eat you, or some animals will, all kinds of things, all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
So because we talk about the fact that his book was not published until 33 years later, right?
Mm.
So we said in 1903, when long after he went to Masadu, right?
Yeah. Yes.
There's this
2 times now. Uh-huh.
André Hollande.
Uh-huh.
I'll call his name good, André Doland,
Dolan. Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? He comes and he says that this man never went to Masadu, that Benjamin J.K. Anderson lied, that he never went there. And I want us to talk about the reasons why he said Anderson lied. You know, yeah. So, Prof. First of all, yes, this man coming to say, this Anderson is a liar.
Mhm.
He didn't go to Masadu, right?
Yeah.
He says that the itinerary that Anderson marked on the map
Mhm.
that he published with his account in 18th century was what? A
Yeah.
pure fantasy.
Yeah. And if he had stopped there, if he had stopped there with his criticism, one would say, well, probably he did it in good faith, even if it is not accepted. But to say that the calculations and all those things that were done in there, no black man had the mental capacity. That's the thing that riles me up. Had did not have the mental capacity to do that. In other words, unless it was a white man in fact, he said that he kind of said that it was some American who must have who must have done that for him, but not himself.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, Tim Gispeak wrote a paper on that, and he said what he said is it's pure fantasy. He says because Anderson was simply a black man who
Uh-huh.
could not possibly have traveled so far into the interior,
Yeah.
calculated geographic
Yeah.
coordinates and altitudes, and written a book.
Yeah.
Right? He
So
said that.
there we have that thing
Yeah.
again, which is uh, the holder of the validation slip.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
not a black man who must validate another black man, but some white man must, or white person must validate, okay, what a black man is doing or a black person is doing for it to
Yes.
be valid.
Yes. And there were other reasons. First, he says that travelers never walk in a long straight line with
Yeah.
acute angles.
Yeah.
You know, so the guy was lying,
Mhm.
and he said that. Uh, in fact, he started to say that the guy took a different. I mean, took the same road. How could he take the same
How
road?
would
You
he
know,
go
and he
back
went
and
on and
forth on the
on.
same route? How would
Yes,
he?
he went on and on. You know, and just lambasting Benjamin J.K. Anderson, saying that it was a fable.
Mm.
That because, and his reason was if if Benjamin J.K. Anderson had not gone into the interior and had not brought with him the Liberian presence,
Yes.
right? Then this was free land for France.
Yeah. But
France could take
that,
the land.
yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
France could take the land. But one thing is that Benjamin J.K. Anderson did tell the Liberian government to establish a political presence
Yeah.
there. They didn't listen to him, but
Mm.
he told them to establish a political presence in where he traveled so
Mm.
that others like the superpowers or I guess the colonizing powers at the
Mm.
time could not take the land.
And it's again, it brings in an aspect of law. What do you call possession, especially when it comes to the issue of land?
Yeah,
It's not a mere claiming that you have a place, but you've got to be in possession, you've got to be in control of it, determining what happens to that piece that you are saying is your piece. And that is
yeah,
all the reason why, that is one key reason why Anderson was saying, well, I've gone there and it's like I've gone to the place, I've seen Canaan, I've seen all the wealth and everything, but by just saying we have a place over there is not sufficient.
it's not sufficient. Yeah,
There's
it's
got
not
to be
sufficient.
a presence felt, which had
Yeah.
to do with projects they would do over there, which had to do with the military command and what have you out there. No, it was not there, and so the mere saying was not enough to establish the ownership of the place.
But
In
Prof,
fact,
uh-huh.
at some point, you remember that Gibson, who was secretary at who became president,
President.
G.W. Gibson, he approached the American government
Yeah.
for a little
Loan.
loan, and Liberia was deep into the throat of death and what have you. So the Americans just said, well, look, probably they were diplomatic about it, but they said that,
They said no. They said they why they see the benefit of going to the interior.
Yes.
The American, like, bro, can you imagine $500, bro?
Yeah. Well, that was huge from those days, man.
In those days,
That
yeah.
was
You know,
huge
and
from.
and they keep saying that oh, Benjamin J.K. Anderson was a full-blooded Negro. You
Mm.
know, I mean, why do they keep saying that? The man
They
was
had
from
to say that
Baltimore.
to put
He
him
came
in
from
his place.
Baltimore, Maryland. You
Yes.
know, and he was black. But why do they keep saying that? Oh, you know, I don't understand why
They
they
have to
keep
put
saying
him in
that.
his place. When people, especially something that is sadly at that time denigrating and what have you, to keep repeating it is to say, hush your mouth, stay where you are supposed to stay, and don't get out of the place there. That's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I found this really, really interesting that Andre Hollande, he keeps saying that, you know, this man is lying. This man is not, never went to Mossad. In fact, he said that Benjamin J.K. Anderson got all of these writing, all of these his accounts from the slaves that were coming from the interior.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he said that's where the guy got it and he wrote. But so he went on, right? And the newspaper picked it up.
Yeah.
The Sierra Leonean newspaper picked it up,
Uh-huh.
and you know, and just started broadcasting it that this man is saying that Anderson is a liar and so and so. He said French claims to the Liberian hinterland,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then his all his nonsense he was writing or talking, it got in the Liberian newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
and to Henri surprise, Benjamin J.K. Anderson was not dead. The man was
Yeah.
alive.
Yes. 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 That he
Yeah,
must have
because
had a
I think
shock.
he thought that the man was dead, prof. And Benjamin J.K. Anderson was about 68 at the time, according
Yeah.
to the
Yes.
thing. So Benjamin J.K. Anderson said, "Oh no, I'm still alive. Excuse me."
Very much alive.
So now they say Anderson said, let me respond to this man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let me put him in his
And he
place.
went
He said,
haywire with
yeah,
him.
because he said to Olan, I didn't just go to Musadu one time, I went two times.
Twice.
And because
68, 74.
you didn't know that, because the second account had not been published.
Yes.
So when you saw my first account and then you started to attack it, when you saw the second account, you thought it was the same account.
Yes.
That's what he thought. He's like, oh, the
Mm-hmm.
man lying, you know, so
Yeah.
and so. Yeah. So he,
But
yeah.
coming to the point again about the media, sadly, that sometimes that pattern of the media does exist to this day, where some of those in the media who are not strong enough, who are not assertive enough, who are not aggressive enough, they pick up things here and there, and they
Yeah.
run with such things when they would do a more detailed analysis, contextual type of searching for information to be able to let people know what's happening and all that. So that's part of what was seen in the case of Anderson and Dolan.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like Anderson was so mad. He was like,
Yeah, of
scorched
course.
earth. I'm
What?
going to deal with
Yes,
this man,
that's you
you know?
insulting the man.
Yeah. So in this, in Gay Speaks thing, he says that Anderson said that this gentleman seems to be sounding the signal trumpet for a fresh grab of Liberian territory.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And he said that unfortunately, the French have already taken Musadu.
yes.
Yeah, the French took Musadu and were in the
Mm,
process of confiscating more
yeah.
land from
Mm,
Liberia.
yes.
You know, so Anderson wrote of the Arabic letter which he brought from the chief of
Yes,
Musadu.
that was a very important piece of evidence.
Yeah.
How would you have produced that if you didn't go out
If
there and let
yeah,
the overlord in the place give it to you?
yeah. Uh uh uh. And then Anderson got so mad. Anderson published more details about his journey and some of the calculation
Yes.
that he had,
Mm,
that he had put aside before.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's very strange because Prof, how we talk about history and we say, it just takes a turn for history to be read a different way.
Yeah.
Because if Benjamin J.K. Anderson had died,
Yes.
you
Yes.
you know,
all
or
the work he had done would just probably perish with him,
yeah,
or it would have taken even longer time beyond 33 years to
yeah.
get some things out.
And Orland would say, "Oh, he didn't go," and nobody would be there to
Yeah,
defend Benjamin
yeah,
J.K. Anderson.
yes.
You know,
Eh,
but there were people who came to Benjamin J.K.
mm,
Anderson's. One is Edward Wilmer Blyden,
yeah.
as we know.
Even if he had to write anonymously while he was in Sierra Leone, he sent out, and probably it was by the diction and his cadence and what have you that they
Yeah.
got to know it was him who was writing those pieces from Sierra Leone.
And the second one actually is very funny because the second person to defend Benjamin J.K. Anderson was Maurice de la Frost.
Yes, yes, yes,
And Maurice was the vice consul of the French
yes,
embassy in Liberia.
yes.
You see, so he could have said, no, 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 we want this land. You never went there, but he defended
Yeah.
Benjamin J.K. Anderson. Yeah,
That again. That is what one calls true human character.
integrity.
Yes, true human character, integrity. One, this guy was a white man. Two, from France,
France. Yeah,
a white man from France, and who had, one would say, much at stake in whatever was taking place. And there he saw what is called truth. He saw what is called truth and defended the truth. So again, it will come back to, when some of us say something about Mr. Whiteman or what have you, we don't just throw the whole group in a basket. And it's very much important. It's very much important that if someone has done something very great, you must talk about it,
yeah,
because talking about it, you are even serving as a role model for integrity. And that is very much important in all this thing about history and all that.
yeah. I mean, I found it. I was very happy that that they um that they um that they um they they defended him. I was very happy about
Mhm.
that. I felt like that was good. That was good for the country and good for.
Truth can't hide. Truth can't hide. Truth can't hide. That's what it is.
And then but the sad thing is that France did take a lot of our territory.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, a lot, Prof. And had they established a presence like the way Benjamin Anderson told them,
Mm-hmm.
there would not be all of this, because they said that Barclay went to Paris, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
then he had to negotiate the final treaty with the French and were forced to
Yeah.
allow France to
That's
claim
that.
several towns.
Okay. You
They
see?
claimed Nuon, Danane, Lola,
Yeah.
Bela,
Mm-hmm.
Kwanken,
Yeah.
Zaba, where they had established
Mm-hmm.
military posts.
Yes.
Huh?
They established military posts. They
Yeah.
had
So,
they
so,
had
so
the
they have
they
presence.
they had the wherewithal. They had
Yeah, they
the
have presence
resources and
there.
all that kind of a thing. That's what it
Yeah.
is. That's what possession comes into the picture.
Isn't that what you lawyers say possession is 9/10 of the law?
Yeah, that type of the law.
9/10 of
That's
the
what it
law.
is. You
Yeah.
see?
And even the Smithsonian came to his defense also
Mm-hmm.
to say that, we approve, we give
Yeah,
this man
yeah,
the wherewithal to
mm-hmm.
go, and we made him go, and
Yeah.
we
Mm-hmm.
stand by him,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of people, even they say the renowned English traveler Winwood Reed,
Yeah,
who
yes,
met with Anderson,
yeah,
vouched for him.
yeah.
But then again, Prof, you're right. When it comes to validation, who validates you?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's the Frenchman and the British traveler, why does it have to be these people to validate you? I mean, Edward Wilmer Blyden, of course, was there, but he
Mm-hmm.
was one of several. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I mean, if you look at the map and see the amount of land that they took, right? And then the interesting thing, it's very funny because they said then the France War Office,
Yeah.
right, approve of the map that
Approve of,
Benjamin
oh, yeah.
J.K. Anderson. So
You see?
where is this Henri coming from to
Well,
say that this man never went, when even the French War Office?
one of the things that should come out of history as we go on is this concept of relevance.
Yeah.
It, it operates at individual level, it operates at a group level, and what have you. Uh, Relevance, within relevance, is this whole thing about the ego.
Yeah.
This guy, whatever he had been or whatever he was, uh, got to a point where he wanted to show that he had he ought to have a voice in the picture, and therefore, he would just go whatever other people were talking about. He couldn't give a two's hand for that. He wanted to make sure that his voice was in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they talk about from 1883, and I'm reading this piece from 1883. The French actively started to expand their territory that it claimed in Cote d'Ivoire and Guinea, often at the expense of Liberia.
Yeah.
They began with the land that stretched from the mouth of the Kavala River and San Pedro.
Yes.
A French commercial company began to disregard Liberian demands to collect custom duties.
Yeah.
French Navy officers signed treaties with local African leaders,
Yes.
and autonomous territories were established with governors who answered only to France. Can you imagine? Ceding our territory and telling the chiefs that you can only, and they said Edward Blyden made one of the few serious attempts by a Liberian to halt French advances
Yes.
into Liberia. In 1891, Blyden became so concerned about Liberian inactivity and the French threatening the hinterland that he asked the American colonization society to send him $500.
Yeah, again, $500 free in the place there, right?
And then in 1889, the French government forced the Liberian government to sign the first Franco-Liberian agreement in 1892, and the treaty stipulated that France got Musadu.
Yeah.
While Musadu's neighboring town of Niela remained in Liberia, the treaty was based on calculations on what the negotiation believed were correct. So they took Musadu.
Yeah. The thing about it is that, when I'm reading this part of the nation's history, it saddens me a whole lot.
Yeah.
I know there are other things we talk about here and there, those versus the indigenous people and what have you. But these people were really making an attempt to have a well-defined area for the entire country. If only they had a support coming from, a significant support coming from America, it would have made some difference. What I observe in the whole process is that whenever America was dealing with European countries, especially, like France and Great Britain, America tried to be tacit. It is only when the America-bred Africans, the settlers, were against the indigenous people. That's when they wanted to set their gunboats and all that kind of a thing. But to a large extent, if America had put its feet down, just as France did and the British did, it would have made a significant difference in terms of the contours of Liberia, as we are talking about today, that has been sliced off by especially France. France had two. Let's remember, France had both Guinea and La Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
So it thought it had a major stake in it, especially after the Berlin Conference, 1883, 84, 84 and 85, Prior to that, France was a little laid back, but when the conference, Berlin Conference went on, then of course the idea of snatching more territory became so much intense, and France went haywire in the process, especially, as I was saying, Guinea and La Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, and also, so Anderson writes this, and I quote: he says, the Liberian government failed to take sufficient action to consolidate the political rights to which Anderson's exploration and agreements might have entitled it. Liberia took it for granted that the area of these explorations and treaties had become part of its territory.
Yeah.
but it had no frontier force, and its occupancy was
Yeah,
theoretical only.
yeah.
Yeah.
Theory
So
is not
yeah,
practice. Theory is not reality.
yeah,
At some
theory is
point,
not reality. Yeah.
yes, it.
So Liberia. I mean, Prof. Sometimes when you read about, you just want to cry for your country.
Mm-hmm,
No,
mm-hmm.
honestly, the people
Yeah.
did bad to us.
Yeah. But again, we have to always keep in mind. We have to also keep in mind that the hearts and minds that sent the Africans to Africa were not hearts and minds that were strong enough to provide significant support. All they wanted was to let these people get out of America because, as they saw it, America was for white and Africa was, and therefore, so all those things got in the picture. Who was charged for corruption
Oh
now?
yeah, and when we're talking about Benjamin J.K. Anderson, but the charges were dropped. The guy
So,
was Minister of Finance 3 times, right? He was Minister of the Interior. He
yeah.
was clerk of the Ministry of Finance also,
Mm.
and the people said, so when they impeached James Springsteen, did they impeach James Springsteen for corruption?
Well, I don't know.
So then
He's talking about that.
they removed Benjamin J.K. Anderson, but the charges were dropped. Mohammed, he was charged for corruption. They said the charges were dropped, so we will never know if it's true or not. Stanley said he's watching, so that's good. Uh, where was Benjamin
Joseph,
Joseph Knight Anderson from
Maryland, Maryland.
Baltimore, Maryland? He left when he was 16 because he liked to fight.
Oh,
No, it's my yeah. We
he
said
had
his
to
mother
stand
taught
his
him.
ground now.
What is the legacy of Benjamin Anderson? The
Where are
legacy
you?
is, yeah, I'll let you go first, Prof.
No, the thing about legacy. First, we said that the exploration brought into view the possibilities of land expansion in the hinterland. So that whole idea of encouraging Liberians, encouraging the government to ensure that there were opportunities out there, that hope, that sense of hope, I think should remain one of his legacy in terms of in terms of what he did in getting that part of the world, that part of the land known about. And of course, we also said that he did serve a professorial duty with Liberia College.
Yeah.
All these
Yeah.
things, and the very idea of service to the nation when there were people who would not dare go out there. That's another particular thing to look at. I think about when you're talking about Benjamin Joseph Knight
Knight
Anderson.
Anderson.
Joseph, not Jacob.
Joseph. And in fact, they talk about the fact how he made math so interesting to the students that a lot of students signed up for his
Yeah.
classes. And yeah, and I think, I mean, he had a lot. I mean, he sang in a choir, he did this, but I think that the fact that nobody wanted to go into the hinterland,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that people were afraid to go.
Yeah.
And Benjamin J.K. Anderson said, I will go.
He was a brave soldier then.
Yeah, at great personal risk, and then to have all of his people desert him, he
Yes.
ran away, because the people say the deeper you go, the devil will catch you,
Yes.
you will get sick, will cut your head off.
Mm-hmm.
And he persevered, and,
Yes.
and granted, it should have
Yes.
taken 25 days.
Mm-hmm.
It took him 13 months.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because every time he went to a village, they would say, don't go this way.
Yes.
Don't go through Papolu, go
Yes.
through Besa, or
Uh-huh.
go through this. And he just kept, I think at some point he was meandering,
Yes.
back and forth to try to find Mosadu, this site that was like the trade route that everything
Yeah,
came
they
through.
spoke about Masadu in legendary terms,
Yes,
mythological terms, and what have you. And
yes.
therefore, it's like, I'm going to see this paradise. I'm going to see this place
yeah.
that people are talking about.
Yeah. Willett Dunbar is watching. Good evening, panelists. Good evening, Willett. Yes. Good evening, Eugenia. Hope you're well. Mohammed said he wanted to make some specific comment, but we hold on because this is not about history. It's a literary discussion.
No, come
it
on.
is about history. We've said that. We've said that what we're trying to do is every time we try to talk about history, we're using text. So the text, literary text, historical text, we're using text. And so what we're doing, we're using his obituary, where they talk a lot about him. And we're going to be discussing his trip to Mosadu, because that one is a rich treasure trove of
Yes.
Liberia. So no, it's not like it's a literary discussion. It's both, you know. Tia Hilton said, "Hello, my name is Hilton. I'm from Johnsonville community." Oh, welcome,
Mm.
welcome. Was the government lackadaisical and that is why we lost the region? Yes, Benjamin
Um,
J.K. Anderson explored. To what extent is that same attitude presented in the government time after time?
well,
Okay, well, Benjamin J.K. Anderson. In fact, Anderson. We read what Anderson said, that Liberia did not establish a presence in Masadu, and therefore they did. France took Masadu, and France gave them the lesser county, the lesser towns that nobody
yeah.
nobody thought
A-
of. You know.
And the thing about it too is, again, speaking from this period of our existence is a different ball game. These people, whatever they might have wanted to do, we keep talking about the scarcity of resources at the time. The scarcity of resources at the time. Can you just imagine? We are talking about $500, and they couldn't get a loan and all that kind of a thing there. So yes, but to say the government was like a disciple, I think it's a little too strong. Well, maybe that's what you choose to use, but I think you need to consider the precarious economic situation the government found itself in, and therefore, even though they could have done it, the resources were not there, and so it was more like they thought by just being theoretical they owned the place when actually they couldn't own. But I'm sure if they had the resources, they would have stepped up with establishing a presence over there.
And to what extent is that same attitude present in the government time after time? Well,
Well,
I think now there's no danger of people ceding our territory,
mhm.
and I
and,
think, huh?
and yet, I'm sorry, and yet the some of the boundaries are porous.
Yes.
Because again of the lack of manpower, and well, somebody say, but even in this day and this day, you talk about but Liberia has been, let me, even if you lower your voice, Liberia has always had this money problem.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't think that. I think that it was a miscalculation, but I think there's one place where even one of the presidents went to France and told them that,
Mm.
for giving you a little territory, you can help us. I think,
Yes.
yeah, I think it's even there, so I don't like to keep harping back to the fact that Liberia and Liberians have fought a bitter battle for its existence. We've said that again and again, that for this country to exist, among
Sounds
all
like a
these
miracle.
superpowers, it was a Herculean effort, on their behalf, right? Um, Larry David said, if the settlers didn't return to Africa, there would be no Liberia. Europe would have colonized all of Africa, and where would Ethiopia be?
Those suppositions and what have you, I mean, people can write on the supposition fine, but there would not have been a Liberia, but there would have been some place there. Liberia is only the name over there that comes from the perspective of those who came in. So you can't say that if these people didn't come, then some other country would have existed there. That's what you have to keep in mind. So if you are saying that it is only they that would have done that, it's left to be looked at. What is it now?
So the opinions some Liberians hold against Mandingo people may not have been if that region was not taken from us by France. Is that a true statement? But we have Mandingo in Liberia, not only in Masadu, they're in Cape Mount, they're in Lofa, they're in other places. It's just that Musadu was the like I would say the mecca of, it was this place where it was so wealthy, and people use it as trade routes to go other places. But I don't think so. I think if some Liberians hold thing against Mandingo, they should be holding anger against the French for taking Masadu from
This is
Liberia,
I think about what
instead of, yeah.
you sent you they sent Mandigo people there to protect us. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the things we say just to blame. That reminds me of another very very serious historical thing, not with Liberia but with Kenya. Kenya, you had they have Somali Kenyans in the northeastern region of Kenya, and they kind of suffer almost the same fate as some of the Mandingos go through in our place, where because of the colonial division and what have you, some people came on the side of one country, some people went on the other side of another country. So those are sad things that happen, and you cannot blame that on Mandingos and all that and say they didn't stand. That's why I think it's a misreading of history.
Yeah. Going back to uh, uh, um to Andri, right?
Hold on.
Yeah, Andri letter. I'm sorry, Prof. I just want to say, the other day our attention was called to an article published in the West African Mail headed French Claims to the Liberian Hinterland, in which some Paris correspondents or others assumed to say, you need not be surprised if at no distant date a Liberian question arises. Liberia's claim to her hinterland reposes in the mean upon the travels of Anderson, or Liberian, who published in 1890, right?
Mhm.
So it's a well-established fact that Anderson never accomplished his so-called travels, but that he compiled them from reports and geographical notes, right?
Mhm.
And then Anderson, he responded, but he says, Benjamin J.K. Anderson's strong and able reply to the Paris correspondence, right? And he said, I'm still alive. And we will make
I'm still
reply,
standing.
yes, yes, yeah, I'm still standing, yeah. Yeah. And then, this guy had so many things, he said we also have an autographed letter written from King Vomvidula of
Mhm.
Musadu by his private secretary to the Liberian government, acceding to our mutual treaties and agreements, all of which have been translated by Professor Blyden, and numbers of the translated copies distributed in pamphlets among the Mandingos who traveled between here and Musadu, and especially the women, right? And he said Anderson left many reminiscences of his trip to Musadu, such as large Arabic Bibles
Yeah.
with the proper inscriptions written and to whom they were given. The
Yeah.
flag of the Republic were
Mhm.
flying over the capital on Anderson's departure,
Yeah.
and whoever has gone or may go will not fail to see many articles which Anderson presented to the people of that town. And then to make fun of Andri, he said, had my French correspondent trusted more to a later inquiry
Mhm.
and less to his own conceits, he
Mhm.
might have arrived at the knowledge of the truth.
Yeah.
For it is notorious among all the Mandingos who visit Musadu that the Liberians sent their messenger, Benjamin Anderson, to Musadu. You see? So he says that the French wants to take from Liberia almost a third of her territory and
Mhm.
incorporate it within the Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in his letter, he's saying that, my man, you don't know anything. I did go. I took Bibles. They people, in fact, in this quote he said that the chiefs, they were ready to sign the treaties
Yeah.
for to be part of the Liberian government.
Mhm.
It was the Liberian government who hesitated, Prof. And then we come back to Genesis question. Do you think that they hesitated because they were Mandingos? Or do you think they hesitated because, like Eric Anderson said, there were no frontier force?
Mhm.
Why did they hesitate?
So many unanswered questions.
We want our land back, bro. Huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I mean, I know that the African Union says that the land, all the borders now
must remain where they are.
Must be where they are. They are agreed upon. But these people took our land, I mean, and then we were forced to sign it over to
Yeah.
them, Prof. That's the thing that hurts me.
Again, if America stood as it ought to have stood, then it would have been a different ball game. But
Yes.
the only thing, or a key thing they were interested in, was let these guys get out of our place. After they have built a place there, get out of that place there and just let us be. That was it. It's a sad. Our thing is a sad punctuation mark over there, and then of
Yeah,
course.
but Prof, it's like, I mean, I don't know, because what's the guy's name? Garrison W. Gibson, Arthur Barkley. Okay, Garrison W. Gibson, right?
I
Listen
guess
to this. This guy in 1879, right? He was Liberia's Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Future President Garrison W. Gibson,
Yeah.
right? He informed the Liberia's representative in Paris, right? And listen to what he says, and I quote: "Our government is now actively engaged in annexing large tracts of inland territory with a view of reaching as soon as possible the waters of the Niger," right?
Yeah.
"So as to turn the trade from that rich section of country into Liberia. Active negotiations are now in progress, and we have already annexed an extensive region of country to Masadu, to the distance of nearly 250 miles from the coast." End quote. Gibson naively felt that if France helped the Liberians in acquiring and controlling this rich country in the interior, Liberia would consider granting the French special concessions. Look at this kind of thing.
Naively, because it was just a claim in name that
Yes.
he thought was a real possession of the place there.
So
That's where
France
naively
now, when
comes in.
France heard that, France said, "Oh, but that land is for the taking."
Uh-huh.
And so France went and took it, and they took it. And this Gibson guy, he didn't stop there. He asked America for $50,000 loan.
50?
50. This one is 50. Blighty
Okay.
asked for 500.
Okay.
Arresting W. Gibson asked for 50,000. But listen, Prof, maybe this time now they realize the importance of Masadu, because it said Gibson asked America for a 50,000 loan. Listen to this, Prof, to construct military posts in Masadu. And the U.S. declined.
And why did the U.S. decline? Well, there were other things, but the U.S. said these people were in debt all to their throat.
Yeah, so the Liberian
you will
government
never
was
pay
so
that
far
amount
in
there.
debt
So
that it would never be able to repay that loan.
why waste our time?
So you see, Prof, again, we come back to history. We say, if these people had given us the $50,000, and we had constructed these military posts to Masadu, the French would not have taken that land. You see, but here we are now discussing Masadu and all the riches of it. So you see, Prof, I'm telling you, Joshua Blahi, he says, "This is powerful. I love this. I always follow because I'm writing a book called The Freedom Spirit. And my research are from books written in the 18th century. You confirm most of my findings. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome."
That's
you
good.
know, yeah, Prof, the people did us bad. They did us bad. Yeah, we have Britain taking our Galenas Island. We need to take it back from them. And then we have France just cutting. But to put all jokes aside, I think that Benjamin J.K. Anderson is one of the most important Liberian, I mean, in the 19th century, that he should be applauded. I think that his book should be, Joining to Musadu, should be taught in school. People should read his books, because it shows you what was taking place in the hinterland at the time. In fact, reading that book, he talked about the women groups. He talked about different things, and it's quite fascinating, to read his book about the king who tried to scare him, and I think the other guy name is Bese. Bese was bad, so it's very interesting trying to
bring all
learn
these
about
flying pieces together.
yeah. So Yeah. So we're going to continue with Benjamin J.K. Anderson next Friday and talk again about
The
the
book
importance
itself.
of Musadu and things like that. But tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we're going to discuss the purchase of Cape Maserado. It's just going to be a historical discussion and to talk about what really happened and to put it in context.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we say get ready for tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
We have the poster around, so please tell your friends, get your fried fish and dry rice
Mm.
and sit down and be ready to join the discussion with us. um and Prof, yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to continue with Benjamin J.K. Anderson, but
Yeah.
do you have any other thing to add?
Yeah. Again, I know when people are removed, generations are removed from the generation of action, there is a tendency to a kind of not really throw a wide net in terms of understanding the perils, the dangers, and all those things that were present. Uh, History is not really for uh, angelic candidates because they are none. History is for those who in spite of some human flaws, have risen to a specific duty and have done their very best. And that statement must apply to the likes of Benjamin Joseph Knight Anderson. If you were to draw a sheet and fold the sheet vertically and uh, look at his deficits and look at his gains and what have you, I'm sure in the name of this country, in the name of Liberia, for instance, I'm sure the assets will outweigh the liabilities of this man. So if we at some point begin to draw a list of the Hall of Famers, uh, Anderson, Benjamin Anderson should be one of those at the top there in terms of what he did by helping to create the hope of expansion. And even though the dream was not totally arrived at, some part of it, even 60% or 75%, was demonstrated. And so I'm proud of what he did at that time. And I hope there will be others who will try as much as possible to demonstrate some patriotic duty in times to come.
Yeah, thank you, Prof.
What's
Larry
that now?
David said, I don't understand why you think the U.S. would assist Liberia. Africans wanted Many white Americans wanted African Americans to leave the United States. Yeah, we know that. We know that. And it settled were pretty much on their own on the African continent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, we talked about that.
yeah. So Joshua agrees with you, Doc. So yeah.
Well,
So
uh,
I want to say thank you to you all for joining us today to
yeah,
discuss Benjamin J.K. Anderson, a young boy who left Baltimore,
yeah,
Maryland, for Liberia and
hmm,
made his mark. Three times Minister of Finance,
yes,
Minister of the Interior,
yes,
choir, CWA
hmm,
graduate, choir
hmm.
member, Methodist Church, True Week Party,
College professor.
college professor, math professor, cartographer. I mean, so many things he did. Died at the age of, I think, 75, but
Hmm,
he left his mark on Liberia.
yeah,
We want to thank you again, as we say, join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Focus on Liberia to discuss the purchase of Cape Maserado. Don't want
hmm,
to miss that. That
yeah,
one will be quite insightful. You can join the conversation. Be courteous always and civil, please.
yeah,
And we ask you to, if you don't join us tomorrow, if you do join us tomorrow, we ask you to be safe, mask up, as we say, and we always say, lift Liberia up. This country has fallen so many times, but it has gotten up. So don't be the one to pull it down. Please lift Liberia up, and tell your loved ones to be safe. We'll see you tomorrow. And as we always say, Prof,
Mm.
whether you are what? Whether you are whether you never been to Musadu, whether you for Henri Deland, whether you support Benjamin J.K. Anderson and you're proud of him, whether you believe that Liberia should have put military posts in Musadu, whether you believe that the American Liberians came and stuck to by themselves, whether you believe different aspects of Liberian history, we all don't have to agree, but we are all Liberians. So have a nice weekend. We'll
Yeah.
see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Please tell your friends to join the discussion, and we say be safe and have a happy weekend.
Yeah.
Bye, Prof.
Yes.
We are